Hello everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Today I'm going to go ahead and do a natural glam. This look is great if you're going to a wedding, if you're going to date night, a night out, a baby shower, anything that is not a part of your regular routine that you need to get ready for. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's get started. Alright, so I went ahead already this morning and exfoliated my face, went in with my moisturizer, and now I'm going to prime the face. So again, I'm going to go in with my NYX Total Control Drop Primer. The reason why I like this one is it's not so silicone-y, so it doesn't just sit on the skin and like leave it all streaky. I like it because I'm able to press it into my pores and kind of cover up this area where I feel like I have more pores. All right, so I am just going to continue pressing this into the skin, down towards my smile lines. I like this flat angled brush because I feel like it just distributes the product very evenly, and you're able to use it as like a contour brush if you would like to, if you have like cream bronzer, or like you can paint on the foundation on your clients, anything like that. So a flat brush is really nice to have. You can also put it under your eye for concealer. It's just a great brush. So perfect. Kind of taking any excess, putting it on my chin. I don't really have pores here, but I have like texture here, so I kind of like to cover that up. I'm gonna take my Maybelline Dewy and Smooth. I'm in the shade 120. I feel like it might be a little bit dark for me, but we can go ahead and fix that with the concealer. So taking a little bit and taking my Morphe sponge, I'm going to distribute that on the face and make sure I get my cheek area, any area where I feel like I get a little red, which is right in here on my nose. We're just gonna press this all into the skin, getting back towards the ears so we match. And as you can see, I'm just really working that into the skin, taking my time, bringing a little bit down past my jawline so that if there's any discoloration between my face and my neck, I can go ahead and just kind of clean that up. So then now I'm going to go on with concealer. On more dramatic looks, I normally do my eyes first and then I go in with my concealer so that no fallout happens. But today we're just going to accentuate the eyes, so I'm not worried about my foundation or concealer getting ruined. So I'm gonna go in with my Maybelline Master Conceal. So as you guys can see, I kind of put it down in a V shape to kind of hide this rosiness, get under the eye area where I have my darkness. And then I put the excess product on the high points of my face. Any part of my face that I want to come forward, that's where I'm going to highlight. So we're just gonna blend that in, really taking our time, looking upward. And then as you can see, we do have this line. So this is kind of where your foundation and your concealer meet. So I will just gently just press it. And as you can see, I'm going in like circular motions. Gently bring that down so that the concealer and foundation can meet without it looking like it's just chopped. So I'm putting the lightest amount of pressure in that area, and then lightest amount of pressure, bringing it up towards the temple and kind of around in this area. This will kind of just make it look like everything is just blended together. Then as you can see, I applied a little bit up to my on the top of my eye. So with the lightest amount of pressure, we're gonna just slightly blend that. It's really important that we use a light amount of pressure with our eyes so we don't get any wrinkles, or we don't cause any more wrinkles that are unfortunately already gonna happen. So just taking your time, working that in. If you are looking for a concealer or anything, I highly recommend the Maybelline Master Conceal. It's the perfect combination of hydrating without being overly oily, but it still gives you the coverage that you need if you need a full coverage concealer without spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I highly recommend. I am then also going to go in with my classic ivory powder. This is the matte and poreless. So I use a dewy and smooth foundation, and then I go in with a matte and poreless setting powder. The reason why I use both is because with dewiness and like a dewy powder, for me it slips and slides because my skin is dry, and once it hits a point where it can't absorb any more hydration or makeup or anything like that, my products tend to slip and slide. So I've over time had to kind of play with makeup, kind of understand my skin and the way that makeup best sits on my face. So I will normally go in with a dewy foundation, then I will set it with a matte powder so it gives it the perfect balance of oil and then like oil control. Into the inner corner against the lash line, and then any excess product we're just going to put it in circular motions down this way on the nose. The reason why I don't really go back in and get like a bunch of powder is because I like my skin to peek through on natural glams. If you like a more full coverage, then I highly recommend that you go in with your powder, swirl your brush around in it, get as much product as you want and distribute it on the face. But for me, I love when my skin just peeks through. I think it's so, so beautiful. Alrighty, so for a natural glam, what I like to do is I like to keep my crease area a couple shades darker than my skin tone. I will go in with like a very light shimmer, and then I will go with a little bit of a darker shade on the outer corners and more defined in my crease, so that your eyes have a lot of definition, yet some softness and a little bit more sparkle than they normally have on your everyday makeup routine. I think what palette will give me the closest to that is the Jaclyn Hill palette. There's so many variety of shades. It's such a beautiful palette. I use it for almost every look that I do. This is what my 2-year-old does. I just want you guys to see. This is what my 2-year-old does. So he has these firemen, and he walks up to me and he says, "Mama, fireman go swimming." And I was like, "What?" And I look down, and he takes the head of the fireman. Fireman's like this big, and he just goes right into my palette. And I just stared at him like, why? So I'm going to go in with the shade Silk Cream. I'm taking my JH30 brush, dipping that into the palette. So as you can see, it's obviously not my skin tone. It's a couple shades darker. So I'm going to put that in the crease. And as you can see, this brush is pretty big. It's pretty fluffy, which is perfect in what you're looking for in a transition shade, in a blending brush, so that it applies your transition shade all over the lid. So I'm just using back and forth motions. Any excess product, I will just kind of dab on the lid of my eye. And for my eye, as you can see, it's very, it's almond-like, but it has a lot of, it's just not the almond shape that I desire. So with makeup, you can do anything and create anything. So what I like to do is I like to kind of tilt my head to the side and kind of flick my shadow up towards the tail of my brow. So as you can see, it just gives it kind of like an almond shape, and that's the shape that I desire for my eye personally. So now I'm going to go in with a more defined yet still fluffy brush. This is the Jaclyn Hill JH32. As you can see, it is still, it's a little bit thinner towards the bottom and up towards the top. It is still fluffy. I am then gonna go in with a little bit of a darker shade. So go with MFEO, which is, this was the first shade that we used. This is the shade that we are going to use. So for this shade, I'm just going to, I'm not going to distribute it everywhere on the eye. I'm going to keep this only in the crease area. Focusing this in the crease. The crease is that little bone that you have in your eye, like your eye socket area, and where your lid meets. So, perfect. I'm going to create the shape that I like, so I'm going to tilt my head upward a little bit. Gently flicking that outward. And then we can kind of, any excess product, bring it down on the lid and windshield wiper motions, keeping that low in the crease area. So as you can see, now we are bringing some depth to our eyes. I'll go back in with the first brush that I used with no extra product and just take my time blending that all together and marrying those two shades together. So then we will go in with a smaller, more defined brush. I'm going to go in with the JH40. So this brush is a little bit more precise. So these are the two that I went in first. We went 1, 2, and now I'm gonna go 3. This one has a little bit more of a deeper tone to it. And I'm going to keep this, my eyelash, it hurts. I'm gonna keep this right on the outer corner, kind of against my lash line, in this V area. So you have this area where you have your crease, your corner, and then your lash line. That's where I'm going to kind of blend everything together. And then I take it and just lightly, like I'm not dragging it up like I did my other shadows because this shadow is a lot darker. So I'm just keeping it in the crease area. I'm working it in circular motions. I think this shade is called Pooter. So then we are going to distribute the product on this eye as well, patting that in on the outer third of the eye, into the crease and on the corner of the eye, and then start blending in circular motions. So when you do it in circular motions, what it's doing is it's kind of applying the perfect amount on the outer part. So we're not dragging it all the way out here like we did with our transition shades. When we work it in circular motions, it's already naturally kind of flicking the product out a little bit past your crease area. So it has a more gradient effect. So what you can do is you can go back in with no extra product with your second shade and kind of just marry those two together, since this darker brown is already kind of out in the area where your crease shade is. And we'll just kind of work that into the eye. So we're gonna kind of flick and blend in circular motions. Beautiful. I'm gonna go in with my JH41 brush. This is a flat brush, so it's lovely to pack on any eyeshadows or hit your I almost said tailbone, hit your brow bone. So these two shades right here, they are perfect brow bone highlights for me. I don't feel like I have the right skin tone to really kind of put that all over my eye. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in with this shade right here. This is the shade Obsessed. It has a little bit of a tan pinkish to it. So that's what we're gonna go in with. I'm going to apply my brush with some Morphe setting spray just so that the eyeshadows can adhere to it. These shadows on their own without any spray are absolutely gorgeous, but for me, I do like a little bit more of a glitter effect on my eyes, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to gently pat that on the eye. And what I'm doing is I'm bringing it up to my socket area. So you see how, like, if you close your eye and then you open it, this is kind of where you want to stop. So just patting that in, keeping majority of the product on the middle and towards the inner corner of the eye. And then any excess product, I kind of just bring a little bit over here so that it's not all a glitter. It still goes from glitter to matte. I'm gonna go back in with the dark brown brush that we used. I don't think I'm gonna grab any product. I'm just gonna kind of dab in the outer corner, put a tiny bit in the crease area just so that it just all blends together. I am going to go in with the shade Beam. Beam has a little bit more of a yellow undertone for me, which works a lot better on my skin. So taking that and hitting the top high points of my eyeshadow. the inner corner. So crazy, like if you just cover this eye and see how awake this eye is and you look at this eye, it's just so like dull. It's just crazy how these little steps make your look just pop. So for my brows, I go in with the NYX Fill and Fluff. Again, I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I don't have patience or exactly what it is, but I don't like a defined brow. So maybe it's because I don't have time. I don't know. I just don't have patience for it, I think, if I'm being honest. So I'm gonna start at the front of my brow, gently grabbing and filling in any of the sparse areas that I see. So this part right here is gonna get covered because it is sparse. Tails of my brow I like to keep soft. Going over the natural shape that I already have of my brow. So that's pretty much it. I just like to keep it very, very, very natural. I'm going to blend all that upward. Again, I like to fluff my hair on my brows upward so that it gives it a nice full effect. I like full brow. That's what we are going to do. So then I am going to go in with my Maybelline Last Sensational Curvitude mascara. So I do believe that I'm okay like this. Normally, sometimes if I feel like my lashes weren't separating right or if they weren't holding on to the mascara right, I would go in with like a brown liner, or not brown liner, like a brown eyeshadow and kind of touch my lash line so that it looks very full. So I went to the store yesterday and I picked up oat milk. And I don't know how I feel about it. Normally, like, I mean, I work at Starbucks, so I get all this sweet stuff all the time, but normally, like, in my home coffee, I'll put, like, French vanilla, so it's, like, pretty sweet, but this oat milk is, like, so creamy, but it doesn't have, like, the same sweetness, but it's still so good, so I don't know how I feel about it. We'll see. And it's expensive, too. I'm like, hello? So I do feel like on my bottom lash line, I am gonna put a little bit of color just because, I don't know, why not? So I'm gonna go in with the second shade that we used on the top lash line and just still use a big fluffy brush. This is the JH32, and just blend that on the lower crease, just so that it's just not too bare at the bottom. It's just so kind of bold on top and then nothing on the bottom. It's just kind of doesn't really balance out. So I always just add a little bit to the bottom lash line, and this will also give your eyes a little bit more definition, a little bit more pull to them. So this is kind of what the eyes look like. They're very glittery, soft, but yeah, have some definition. So this is what I mean by natural glam. It's just you, just a little bit more depth. So now we're gonna move on to the face. I'm going to grab my Butter Bronzer in the shade Bronzer. This is by Physicians Formula. I absolutely love their bronzer. So for this, I'm not gonna have a chiseled look. I'm just gonna kind of bring it down starting from the top of my ear towards about right here, towards my smile line. Softly distributing that, and then we will go in circular motions. And then gently touching the apples of the cheeks. Putting it on the perimeter of my face, temple, back to cheek, and I hit the bottom of the nose, sides, just to give my nose some definition. we will go under the chin. Circular motions, creating the shape that I like. I like to hug this part of my jawline and bring it under so that it gives the illusion that I have a structured jawline, which I don't. So that's the good thing about makeup. Now we are gonna go in with blush. I'm going to take my e.l.f. blush palette. I think I'm gonna mix these two, guys. So I'm gonna hit this tan shade with this pink shade and gently just touch the apples of my cheeks. Oh, and this is, I don't even know what brush this is. This is so old. Tan shade, pink shade, touch the cheeks. Gently just swift that over the nose. Tiny bit on the chin. I will then take my setting spray and start to set my face. The reason why I do this before my highlight is because I feel like my highlight applies so much better and it has something to stick to. And then at the same time, we're also setting the powders that we just laid down. So you have almost like a double layer of setting spray and your skin looks absolutely stunning. I went in with the Morphe Continuous Setting Spray. It's so affordable, it's so good. I think I'm on, for my birthday, my girlfriend bought me like 4. Went through those in like 4 months. It's been like a year. I've probably owned like 9 or 10. It's insane, but they're affordable and they're awesome. So I'm going to take my Eco Tools. This is just a little kind of blush brush. I think I got it in like a package or something. So this is the High Impact Highlighter by Morphe. It's in the shade Spark. It kind of resembles my eye. It has a little bit more of a gold tone, so I'm just gonna pop that on the top of the cheekbones and it's gonna look amazing. I'm just gonna touch it gently with the highlight. And I like to do circular motions so that it all just blends into the skin. So as you can see, it just kind of gives it a nice gleam. I will hit any places that I want to come forward. So my chin, a little bit on my nose, not too much, like I just did. And then top of the cheekbones, a little bit in the middle. So then I will go in again and set the highlight that we just placed. Taking my Morphe sponge and really just lightly pressing that into the skin. I like to press my setting powder into the skin so that it just holds everything in place without letting anything move around. I feel like it just makes everything set a lot better. Last but not least, we are going to go in with lips. I'm gonna go in with the shade called Push Up. Perfect. All right, you guys, so this is the finished look. It is very natural. You still look like yourself, just with a little bit more, where it's just so beautiful. So your skin's peeking through, you have some color on your lips, you have a little bit more depth to your eyes. Your eyebrows are you, just a little bit more. And so this is what I love about natural glam. It's you, you're just accentuating the beauty that you already have. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Please let me know what you would like to see next. And yeah, I'll see you guys then.